Having an herb garden here at my house is a no-brainer for me. Growing herbs at home to have fresh herbs, they're cheaper than going to the store. They're more convenient than going to the store. However, sometimes I have an abundance and I need to preserve them. So that's what we're going to do here. We are going to cut back our oregano and we're going to preserve it. Most of the time, it is recommended that you only cut back 2/3 of the plant. However, oregano is very aggressive. So we are going to cut it all the way back to the ground and it will regrow. And that way it's also not flopped over like this. It is about to harvest, or the oregano is about to flower. And that is a great time to come out here and to collect your oregano for preserving, because once it flowers, it kind of changes the flavor profile of the herb. So you don't want to pick your oregano or any of your herbs for preserving whenever they are wet, because that takes longer to dry and there's more chance they're going to spoil. So you want to make sure that it is mid-morning, midday, but they're also dry. So if you live in a place where the sun hits your herbs first thing in the morning and it dries that morning dew off, go out there and pick them first thing, because that way your flavors are most concentrated. So I'm just going to get big clumps like this. I have my herb basket that has oregano in it, and I'm gonna harvest this. Now I'm gonna probably preserve about half of this. The other half is gonna go to my chickens because I don't need all of this. And also this oregano is very aggressive, so I want to keep it controlled in this bed so I can continue to have it here in this bed, but it doesn't take over the entire bed, because it will. And of course there's oregano growing up in there. Just be careful if you plant oregano somewhere that you don't want it to take over, because it is pretty aggressive. But I also like that about it because of how beautiful it is, and it's aggressive. You know, I should plant that on the hillside. That might actually be just all that oregano in there. That could be pretty nice. And on a side note, I didn't video it. I guess I should have. But I found a bed in there. I thought it was a rabbit. It might be my cat. Either way, I was terrified. I didn't see any actual real animals in there, but I had had enough. Oh, there's a third one growing in there, actually. The herbs on this side of the bed, we're going to prune them a little bit differently. That is sage and basil. Basil in particular will get really big and bushy. It's going to fill in this whole area right here, especially since I took the Echinacea out, so it's going to get more sun. But the best way that you want to prune your basil is you're going to come in on it, and you're going to find where 2 leaf nodes are, and you're just going to pinch it off. And what that does is it causes branching. So now this basil will branch out in each direction. You can take your extra, I guess, that's harvesting. We're gonna put it in the basket, and we're gonna make basil tea with that, because basil tea with honey, iced down in the summertime, fantastic. But we're just gonna do that to each one of our basils. Our sage is going to be the same way. You're going to come back in, and you can use a snips. I have those too. You don't have to use your, you just come in here where you find 2 leaves and you snip it off, and you put that in here, and we'll dry that. We're going to do that with our sage and our basil. When you're in here in your beds harvesting and gathering, it's also a great time to just pull a few weeds. Not many, just a few. Keep your beds looking nice and tidy. I'm going to cut this one back pretty hard. See where the stem, and then there's 2 leaves coming out right there. What I'm going to do, snip it. That is going to create more branching inside of my basil. I'm going to do it again. And I do that every time I want to harvest. Now, this basil hasn't gone to flower yet. You want to try to keep your basil from going to flower, because that changes its flavor profile. 2 leaf nodes, stem, snip right above those leaves. And sage, actually, if you don't prune it, it will bloom a very pretty blue color. I didn't know that until I had some sage in my orchard and I didn't prune it all year. And then it bloomed this really pretty purple. I was so surprised. We are back over here at the garden. We are going to pick borage and cinnamon basil. The borage is going to be for a borage and cucumber mocktail that I'm making for dinner. And then the cinnamon basil, I'm going to make a batch of basil and honey tea and put that in the refrigerator for tomorrow. And it is getting extremely hot out here, so that's probably all the herbs that I will be picking for the day. To pick borage, we're just picking the flower. You gotta be a little bit careful because there's quite a few bees around here. I'm just gonna put it in my basket. All right, so we've collected all of our herbs. I did forget to go get the thyme, so I'll do that later. But I did collect all the herbs that we have here today. So I'm going to show you how I am going to tie up the oregano that we have here. It's very simple. I just have little rubber bands and hooks. I have like shaker pegs, I think is what they're called, in my kitchen. And so what I do is I just hook this on here and I hook it on the peg and I just let it hang in the kitchen to dry. There's a lot of other ways that you can do it. You can dry it in a dryer. I don't take it off the stems. I put it in a bunch. Pretty decent sized bunch. And that broke. Okay. You just take these rubber bands. Wow. Guess I need new rubber bands. You can also use twine. That way it doesn't break on you. But I didn't know where my twine is. So rubber bands it is. All right. So rubber band, full of oregano. I have a hook. You don't necessarily need a hook. I hang it like this on the pegboard, the shaker peg in my kitchen, and I let it dry. Most of the time I let it dry until winter, till I have enough time to do anything about it. Currently, I did about this much last year, and it made a full mason jar full of dried oregano, and I still have about half of that. So I got a little ways to go before I need any more. So that's the oregano. We're going to do all of those. This is the lemon verbena. I'm going to leave it on. I like to leave things on the stem. It makes it easier to transport for me. You can do it however you like to do. Some people like to take it off beforehand because it makes it easier after the fact. Just kind of depends on when you have more time. And then this is the sage. We're going to just lay it out nice and flat. Sage does dry a little bit different because it's got a thicker leaf, so it's going to take a lot longer than that lemon verbena. So I am going to go ahead and just kind of pull it apart and toss it around the tray. You can have a drying rack. You can just have this tray sitting in your pantry. I need a drying rack. I'd prefer a drying rack, but I can't find one that I like. I want a wooden one that hangs from my ceiling in the corner of my pantry, but I can't seem to find one. They're all those plastic flimsy ones. That's not what I'm looking for. So this will work for now until I find one or make one. All right, so you just lay that out flat. It'll dry, and then you can cut it up as dried sage. And then also what I have in here is I did collect some chive. They've gone to seed, and I'm going to let them dry all the way on this, and I am going to try to start some more chives because I just absolutely love their little pink flowers. Plus, I love chive in the springtime too, but I definitely do it more for their pink flowers than I do. All right. And that's it. That's how you harvest herbs. That's how I preserve herbs. You don't need a dryer. You don't need any kind of fancy equipment to dry your herbs. You just need a bunch of herbs and a place to hang them. A dry place. I mean, you can't hang them outside, but it doesn't need to be dry. Just a place to hang your herbs. So I'm going to finish this, and then I'm going to go inside, and I'm going to make myself a borage and cucumber mocktail. Maybe there'll be enough for my husband left. Who knows? And then That's it. Thank you so much for watching. Sawyer did remind me that I needed to ask you all, if you like this, just like and subscribe. That way I can tell him that I did it. Thank you.